Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cheap Seats. We are a podcast that talks about the English Premiership. We talk all things English Premiership from our vantage point. That is the Cheap Seats. We were talking about earlier Arsenal, the ability for you to get tickets at the Emirates these days, and yeah, the tickets we'd be able to afford are the cheaper ones, and so. Yeah, cheap seats. Remember that this show is not brought to you, but sponsored by Classic Shirts ZA. And so you can go out and check out their merchandise. They really have great football kits, but also please do subscribe on our YouTube channel, One World Sports Radio. We'll be bringing you a lot of rugby content this month because people are going to France, and it's going to be an interesting one because I think a certain short Frenchman is going to kill us somewhere along the way, Antoine Dupont. But anyway, let's talk about the kit of the week instead of the rugby. Because we won this weekend, Kent, I was like, why not? Why not?
Surely.
I recently got this one as well, Kent. Really, really loving it. I think it looks good. Reminds us of the good old days with that little Invincibles fixture run there on the side. Really love it. And yeah, Kent, I know you've got it. How do you feel wearing it? How did you feel on Sunday wearing it?
It's quite funny. I actually got this kit when Adidas made a mishap and they put 32 pictures only out of the 38. So I was in a predicament whether to send it back or keep it. And I think maybe having the weird one or the one that hasn't got all the fixtures, probably one that could be more valuable if we do have a good season. But yeah, it was a kit that I wasn't sold on immediately, but it has definitely grown on me a lot. I like the white, how it stands out, and it looks. A lot of these kits look better in person or on the pitch. So yeah, big fan.
Well, not that green monstrosity that's the away kit. Yeah, it's weird. AB, how did it feel seeing that?
Well, I mean, Arsenal and Adidas knew what they were doing with the gold, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the gold.
We were celebrating the gold trophy of the Invincibles 20 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're the only team that has a gold trophy.
They were set in April, not in May, AB.
I'm just saying this. The guy who designed it was like really lazy. He was like, it's like 10 games to go. Let's just chuck some gold in there. It'll be fine. Can't lose it from here.
Let's give them something. Yeah. And then little did he know that Mikel Arteta's men are a problem. AB, how are you feeling after Sunday? Manchester United losing in the most dramatic of circumstances in the final 10 minutes of that game.
You Arsenal people made that into a dramatic game. It should have been 3-4-0 down before halftime. Saka missed some chances. Saka missed a chance. Havertz missed a blinder. I think you let it become dramatic and this great win. You shouldn't be celebrating a win against Man United. Dean can tell you this. The fact that you beat us.
You know how ready I was to say, I guess only certain teams from North London can beat United, and then you guys go and manage
That's for sure.
It was in the drafts, right, ready to get sent.
Kent, when Garnacho scored that goal,
I was there.
What were you feeling?
I was at the stadium at the game. I remember just putting my face in my hands, and it was I was almost weepy. I was like, how have we let this happen? We've dominated the game, and this anti-football Burnley-esque kind of style of play is actually going to undo us at home. And then I just heard someone started cheering, and then they said no, they're looking at a potential offside, and then loud cheers, and then after that it was just bedlam with the 2 goals after that. But United almost did a smash and grab, which is a bit embarrassing.
Yeah. Yes. Because to a certain extent, I also wasn't happy with the way we were playing. Obviously, it was a low block, and United were being Burnley-esque. But yeah, it was just like, guys, you can do this better. But Fabio Vieira for me, Kent, is should be taking over from Kai's spot. I think he's there. He gets it. He sees it. And yeah,
He's matured a lot in the past. I think he showed a lot of maturity this season so far. He looks a bit bigger than he used to be. He was very, very small in stature. So, but on the other end, I don't know if we should keep on rolling the dice with Kai. His confidence will just either plummet, or if he gets a goal, he might just get that confidence back. It's for sure that it's a confidence issue, though. He's so scared to make a pass because he knows the criticism he'll get if it doesn't happen, and that's pretty much what happened on the day with the pass to I think it was Ericsson.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's lacking confidence. Where Vieira, on the other hand, has a lot of it. Maybe Kai should be speaking to Vieira behind the scenes.
Well, Kai needs to be speaking to Mikel Arteta because it seems like Arteta is going to persist. He was like, he's using the same strategy on Kai that he used on his wife. And then they asked him, what did you do? And then he was like, I was persistent. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
This man's going to be starting.
My manager's throwing those stories out. I'm asking for it.
Are you guys going to issue a club statement soon?
Yes, someone's going to keep it up soon, dude.
We have a template.
We'll be coming to you. We'll be coming to you, AB, for those templates. Okay, let's go. This week, so transfer window closes, and then all of a sudden you're hearing these rumblings out of Saudi Arabia, which kind of makes sense because the player is the player, right? So Liverpool could most likely be offered 200 million for Salah before that Saudi Arabian window closes tomorrow on the 7th. It currently was a 150 on the phone call. I'd have taken it. I would have. But it's 200. And the question is, 200 million for Salah tomorrow as the Saudi Arabian window closes, your transfer window is closed. Does Liverpool take it? Dean?
I think you take it and you run, to be honest. Like, having thought about this a few times, and I think there's a couple of angles which we could cover here, but for me, the big thing is everyone and their grandma was telling Spurs to sell Kane because you're not going to get that kind of money and his age, and fine, he only had a year contract left and whatever. But you can't then all of a sudden turn around and say, hang on, don't sell Salah, don't sell Salah, don't sell Salah. And to be honest, Spurs were or could be seen in a worse position. It's not like we have a number 9 just hanging around ready to take the reins. Like, everyone thought Richarlison is the guy. He's not that guy. And if you look at that Liverpool squad, I mean, it's not like they don't have talent up front. I'm not saying they have another Salah in the wings, but I do think a Gakpo, a Darwin, a Jota can do the job up front. Like, it's not that they don't have the sort of facilities to do it, you know? Like, they can easily still put out a world-class front three and be able to sort of compete at least. So for me, Liverpool really stupid to not take. I mean, everyone knows the 150 was on the table. The 150 should have been taken. And a lot of the Liverpool fans are saying it's because if it happened earlier in the window, probably would have taken it. But because it happened so late that they couldn't find a replacement and, you know, whatever excuses they are. But you have the bench backup to at least get you to January. And then in January, you can go and chase whoever you want to and then kind of take it from there where, yeah, for me, I don't see why they wouldn't. I think it is 100% just pure sentimental value and they want to keep Salah, and Salah is Liverpool. Liverpool is Salah. So bad business decision, but like you also can't negate the footballing sort of sentiment that they have towards Salah. So catch 22, but on a pure business side of football, 100% should have taken it.
AB, they spent the past couple of years trying to find a replacement for Salah. That's essentially why they got Nunez, they got Gakpo, they got all these guys. They even got Carvalho. At one point, everyone thought Carvalho would be the guy. 200 million tomorrow as a Saudi window closes. Are you taking him? Taking the money or staying with Salah?
100% taking it. You can't replace Mo Salah right now. Maybe there's like 2 players in the world, like Vinny and Mbappe, who can like come in. Maybe Niedermeyer, I don't know, who could come in and fill that role, right? But like, sell him now. Don't buy anyone in Jan because the window is screwed in Jan anyway, and the market's just like the worst place to be. and go into like the free agent market right now. You've got Jay Lings, who's like doing nothing right now. You've got Eden Hazard, who's rested for like 3 years, like he is fresh, right? Just go and get a free agent, promote someone from your youth team, just take the 200 mil, and then you can go back to being net spend FC. You know what I mean? Because like right now they're no longer net spend FC.
Kent, there are these jokes that people are saying on Twitter or X, saying that take the 200 million and go to Arsenal and get Saka for 150. How dare they?
All that.
How dare they? So, from your perspective,
hang on.
Take the money for Saka.
Hang on. Yeah.
No,
Would you sell Saka for 150? Surely.
No, I wouldn't. We
200?
compare apples and eggs in a sense here or apples and pears, because Saka's 22, Salah's 31. I think there's more to come from Saka, and I think we could actually get more for Saka if you see how the trajectory of this market's going. Let's say he's just signed a new deal. He's got 4 years left on his contract. In 2 years' time, if someone offered me 150, but maybe by that stage, players like, I don't know, let me think. Players like Darwin Núñez could be going for 150 by then, or something stupid like that. So I think that's just knee-jerk. I think Saka is also very much a sentimental player, but I do think he has a price. I'll say that.
He has a price. Are you taking the money for Salah? 200 million?
Yeah, I'm taking that money for Salah. I think Liverpool can survive without Salah. I think they've got enough attacking prowess. I think that their issues are in defense, not really in attack. If Salah was to, let's say, not play until Jan in a Liverpool team, I think they will keep up with the pack, and I think they can then they can do so much with 200 million in January and then in the market after that. And I do think he's leaving anyway at the end of the season. So I think Salah will go to Saudi, whether it's now. Otherwise, he's definitely going at the end of the season.
But he signed a contract, so it's either 200 million now or 200 million later. It might be 100 million later.
Yeah, I think that's just to keep his value. You don't want to be leveraged out of a deal. But I think Salah could also regress with age, potentially. That's the risk of waiting a year. Same with Kane, same with anyone. The player might not be putting out the output that he currently is. So you want to sell him when you think he's in his prime. I don't know. Only Benzema and some other special players have kind of still increased their output after the age of 31, 32. Maybe Giroud, someone like that.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting. But Cyrus, where do you weigh? Because the window's closed, right? And a lot of clubs have always wanted to replace players before they let them go, regardless of the money, right? And we look at the whole João Palhinha situation with Fulham, right? McTominay didn't want to leave Manchester United, and bloody João Palhinha was stuck in Bayern Munich, being told to go back. Is that the answer for Liverpool, as Jean actually enters the chat as well? This is a wild podcast, but 200 million decision. What do you do?
First and foremost, you don't take the 200 mil now. As much as you guys want to be able to say yes, take the money and run, the realities for Liverpool are quite extensive here. We know how important the player is to the club historically. Then we also look at it from a performance perspective. Yes, they might be able to tread water, but do they want to do that? Is that really what you want to do as Liverpool? You want to be able to at least try and ensure that you are within that top four chasing space. So I can totally see why the club is saying there's no ways that we'll take this money now. It just will derail absolutely everything. The next thing from here is what happens in a club versus manager issue, where the club says, you know what, 200 mil is just way too much for us to ignore, and yeah, we're selling him. Then Jurgen Klopp is like, that's it, I'm out. They then have two massive headaches. The first one being, how do you replace a Salah, which you can't do? Spurs will find that out about Harry Kane. The second thing is, no, but then you don't try. You don't try to replace Salah. That's the difference. The other thing is, how do you replace Klopp? Because he's also at a point where, what is he doing this for, right? It can't just be, oh, I love this city so much. He also wants to try and achieve stuff, and Salah gives them the opportunity to. Not necessarily the fact that they will be pushing, but when he's there, they are actual contenders for something, whether it be a European trophy, whether it be a domestic trophy, or even the league, who knows? But let's also then look at the numbers here, and this is where the whole debate about the Saka sexuals comes in. Bukayo Saka, 150 mil, and you'd say no. I can see why you'd say that when you spent 100 mil on Declan Rice, because then it means that 100 mil doesn't really mean much. And then you're looking at Salah and you're saying, okay, Salah at 200 mil at 31 years old, well, then he must be better than him because he's younger, X, Y, and Z. Salah's won the damn league. Salah's scored 19 goals last season, 23 goals the season before that. So it's not exactly the same.
22.
But my point is, he wasn't 200 mil at 22. And
He was in Rome or something like that at 20.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he might have been at your academy and getting sold.
No, he never came to our academy. But my point is, the value is not the same. The value is not the same. And so that's the thing where I look at this and I say, yes, it's all well and good for us to turn around and say, no, not our player. But 200 mil is a heck of a lot of money, but Liverpool would be absolutely foolish to take that right now.
Let's hear from the person who's going to say, nah, not our player. Jean, thanks for joining us. 200 million. Are you taking it?
No.
Think with your head, Judge. Think with your head. That's hard.
It's 200 million. It's a world record transfer fee.
That money will still be there in January. And that's 6 months, which allows us to basically plan ahead properly and not derail our season completely, which would in effect then determine what we can even buy with 200 million. So no money at this stage is enough.
But you're not going to get value in Jan.
Why not?
Because no one gets value.
Saudi Arabia always has
world class available.
No. I mean, Liverpool aren't going to get value in Jan from the market, is what I'm saying.
But guys, the thing is, it's not about. I think what Jean is trying to say is that for a player like Mo, the 200 will still be on the table in Jan, and I think even in the summer, because you have him on contract, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because so for instance, if they're looking, because he's the number one Arab player in the world, he's top 10, whatever it is, they're obviously going to come, But what's the value that you have on Salah there, Jean? Is it 200 or was it 150, but you just can't sell because it's too late?
Personally, anything between 175 and 250.
You sound like me last year with Kane.
That sounds.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
But it sounds like Jean is saying he would take 200 million.
But
I would take 200 million, but only in January.
Yeah,
okay,
the time.
Only in Jan. So
only in Jan and onward.
Okay, so
that's fair. That's fair.
It's been 4 games in the season so far, right? Let's say you didn't have Salah in that team. Do you think there would be a significant decrease in your performance? And I know it's only been 4 games, but do you think that Salah has played such an important role already in those 4 games?
Look at the first game of the season. No, but
what I'm saying is, listen to the question. Like he's already missed a penalty. Things aren't always going through him as much as they were. Like to me, I watched the Liverpool game, and I'm not like Salah's obviously important in that team, but he's not as important as he was 2 years ago. So
can I answer this with statistics?
Yes,
but that honestly, that's what I'm asking because I don't see it. That's why I'm saying Salah.
Salah is the first person since Mo Salah to have a direct goal contribution 10 games in a row. And basically he has opened the season with an assist. Then he got an assist and a goal. He got another assist for Darwin Núñez against Newcastle and another assist and a goal. So, he's basically being played out wide a lot more. He's not moving into the central striker's position that he was doing so in the last 2 seasons, which means that his role in the team is different. Would there be a significant drop-off? No. But it's enough to make us lose points, which are absolutely crucial in a year where we absolutely have no option but to get Champions League football back or even push for a title. We just simply, like, it's just too a vulnerable time for letting go of a player of Mo Salah's caliber. If you look at general assists and goal contributions over the last, I think it's 3 seasons, I think it's only Lionel Messi who surpasses Mo Salah. You just have to understand what kind of a player we're dealing with here. And the way he keeps and looks after his body means that he can maintain this level for many more years than the average player. So you can be seeing him doing this at the age of 35.
Cristiano thing.
And Paul, I wanted to ask also, why would Saudi wait so late for a bid? Do you think it's to make Liverpool scramble? Why didn't they approach it earlier? Why? Surely making a decision to put 200 million on the table and think you want the best chance of that being accepted, surely you put it down at the beginning of the window as a club? Or do you think it's potentially Newcastle's PIF people that are there and they want to sabotage Liverpool?
I absolutely love that Kent is out here with the conspiracy.coms, because that's in essence everything. It's like, you know what, they're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us. These late bids, who's going to turn down 200 mil?
I think Newcastle in cahoots, dude. Maybe.
So the way I think about this, but and I'll go to Jean on this. I think they tried to get Messi at the beginning of the window, and they were focusing on trying to get him because they already had Ronaldo, right? And Benzema was just walked in, right? And all these other stars walked in. And then they looked at what Messi was doing in MLS over the past month. And then they realized they need someone probably to even who could be at that level, right? And to a certain extent, I'd say it's poor planning. I wouldn't say it's shithousery. I just think they had like a board meeting 2 weeks ago and they were like...
They went for Mbappe. They were also looking at trying to get Mbappe into the league.
Yes.
So it's basically been you can see that they've gone on a progression. We've got Cristiano, who's next? Oh, Messi. Oh, he's gone to the US. Well, who after that? Oh, you know what? Don't we have a link with those guys in Paris? Let's see if we can get Mbappe. Oh, that hasn't worked out. Well, why don't we go to Liverpool? There's a guy there. I mean, we're seeing it. It's literally, evident for us to see. So I think that's one of the reasons why. I don't think there's any sort of deeper conspiracy there, as much as it might be really awesome to see in the movie starring Riz Ahmed as Mo Salah. I just don't see it.
There's a Newcastle documentary on Amazon Prime, by the way.
Riz Ahmed is going to have to get jacked for that role.
You don't know how jacked Riz Ahmed is.
No, man, he's not that jacked.
Yeah.
You don't know how jacked he is. Okay.
Okay, Jean, final word from you. When the news of the phone call came in, how were you feeling? How are the other Liverpool fans feeling? Were you like, nah, guys, we're going to bed. Salah's our player. Did you feel like his head was turned?
Honestly, as soon as Saudi Arabia entered football as a player, Liverpool fans were already discussing when are they going to come in for the most influential Arab player of all time. And so it was not at all a surprise. What was absolutely a surprise was how late they did it in the window, as you guys say. And I think, honestly, that does come down to bad planning, because they, as you mentioned, they just went off the list. Like, let's go for this one. Let's go for this one. My gut feel is that if they had come in with a 200 million bid at the start of the window, Liverpool would have just snapped their hands off and said, fine, we'll cut our losses. We'll plan accordingly. But now, I mean, it was expected. And now we're kind of just counting down the time until it's a case of when Mo leaves, not if.
Final one before we go to the team in Manchester that went crazy this weekend. At what date in the window would you have sold him? Was it 2 weeks before the window? Was it 3 weeks? If it was a month before the window closed, would you have taken the 200 million or even the 150?
I'd say a month. That's the absolute latest. I'd say a month, because you have to also realize how much you're going to be extorted by other teams once they know you're in the market for a right winger.
And you have 200 million.
There we go.
Who's the right winger you're looking for?
Yeah, that's my question. Who do you ultimately replace him?
I have to get his name right because I just always mess it up. But
Is it Heung-min Son?
Kvicha Kvaratskhelia from Napoli.
Quaritch. Ooh, I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that guy.
Then
Absolutely.
you wouldn't get him because you talked about extortion. There is no bigger club at actually, I think it's Napoli and Brighton. Like if they know you've got money, the price changes by the minute.
Yeah. I'm about to visit Naples actually next week, so I'm excited to see the mafia in action.
The fact that you said it on air means the price has gone up already.
The price of a
I'm
pizza has
about to
just
find
gone up.
out.
They're watching.
Yeah.
They're like, this
Okay,
guy's
cool.
coming.
Speaking about right wingers, a right winger Manchester United who's done pretty much nothing since he arrived, and everyone was laughing at Pepe. But
We still are. We're still laughing at Pepe.
But there's a curious case of Jadon Sancho, and his manager was throwing shade at him on Sunday when many people asked what was he doing outside of the match day squad. ETH said no, he didn't train well in the week, taking a bit out of Mikel Arteta, and then Jadon Sancho did something we didn't expect. We don't actually see players do. Is actually write a statement about his manager and saying that effectively what he was saying was rubbish. And AB, how do you feel about the drama after going 3-1 down? You've lost to Arsenal, a game you could have won if you still. Oh, by the way, have you figured out the whole line situation like all the other Manchester United fans who don't know what parallel lines mean?
No, the line needs to just go curve around Sancho, apparently.
Yeah,
that's how lines work.
But how do you feel about this situation with Sancho?
Yo, guys, I see Sancho leaving. Hey, I think he's going to Saudi. I think if
tomorrow
he could. I mean, I don't see a route back for him because the last time a player did something similar was CR7 with ETH the other day, right? And it's unprofessional from both people. Like ETH could have made up some silly excuse in the presser, but he was under pressure because he's lost 2 games now. He played Harry Maguire, all that stuff. And then he forced Sancho's hand. Now, like if a player is not training well, for whatever reason, deal with it in the dressing room, behind the scenes, leave it at that, make an excuse and move on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about ETH this season. He spent a lot of money on some big players, and seems like the dressing room is missing something. Like people aren't happy, clearly, because stuff like Martial was as useful, may as well have been Sancho on that field because he was not there. So there's a lot going wrong with United, and I think the manager's feeling it. I think the players are feeling it, and I think something's got to give. But I don't see Jadon Sancho playing for United again. I think he's gone. If I was the manager, I'd send him somewhere cold.
Hang on. Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Though? Because Erik ten Hag, and I've sort of been trying to sprinkle these breadcrumbs over the last couple of podcasts, but he's just doesn't seem up for it, does he? I'm
worried.
Like every week there's something, and it's not even necessarily the excuses. The performances haven't necessarily been great. The players are now acting up. Somebody you've spent tons of money on is basically saying, no, that's BS. What this guy's saying is nonsense, and I've given everything for every manager, blah, 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 all of that stuff, right? I look at the key thing in all of this is, what does Ten Hag gain from saying Sancho was left out because he trained poorly? And if it is to try and get a rise out of Sancho, then mission accomplished. He's done that. But I just don't see, are there any Ten Hag ride or dies in this team? Because I have a feeling that the revolt is coming from within, and Bruno Fernandes is going to be the guy leading it, probably as he dives onto the floor.
Cyrus.
Is it the same revolt that got Ole out? Because it feels like
I don't know, but think about the Rashford situation where Rashford was late for training, right? Like that's black and white, right? Like You were either late or you weren't. He called him out. Rashford responded, etc. I think Garnacho had something very similar as well. Wasn't training well, but that we heard behind the scenes. Like we heard like when Fab or Kent like told us.
Garnacho had a vape in one of his Insta stories that he removed.
Yeah. There's going to be worse Insta stories about this kid. Don't just wait. Okay, just wait. But I agree with you, Cyrus. Something's wrong. There's something rotten there in the club.
Dean, you've experienced a situation like this, and I'm going to take you back to Tottenham's Premier Series with Mourinho there, that Apple whatever podcast series that Newcastle's trying to do as well. And it was him and what's his face? Danny Rose. And obviously Mourinho was doing the same thing, but he outed him literally in front of millions of people in the world, obviously, who watched the show. And it created such a weird environment afterwards because I kind of felt like this thing can go two ways, right? The player can get a rise, as Sarah says, and be better. But then other players can look at this and go, but am I also one mistake away from you kicking me out of the match day 23 or 17 or whatever it is, and then also outing me on Sky Sports after you've clearly botched a game because you then somehow had Maguire and Evans at centre back, which was weird. But yeah, like you've experienced this with Mourinho and Rose and Dele Alli and everything else. And what do you think the other United players are thinking at this point in time?
Yeah, I think we can't ignore the fact that this was a tactic that was used by coaches previously. You know, Mourinho has done it with like Samuel Eto'o. I think he did it with him at Inter and stuff like that, where it is a tactic that has been done before, but the type of player in 2023 is not the same type of player that was there in 2005 or late 90s. Like they don't react to this criticism and open criticism the same. And that's where I think coaches are falling back on previous methods to try and get a rise out of a player. Because to me, that's why Ten Hag does it. He does it to try and say, well, you know, pick up your socks. Like if you actually want to play and take Martial's place, who I think any of us five could probably take Martial's place out of that in that starting 11.
But there's another issue at the right. It's Anthony. He isn't.
But
he's
then
effectively
don't
doing
worry.
the same thing
Anthony
Sanchez
won't be playing much more. That issue's been solved.
But it also comes back to what
Is he
what
also
Ed was
going to
talking
Getafe?
about.
Yeah.
It seems like it's next season.
But it also does seem a little bit like Ten Hag has his sort of favorites in that squad and guys that have played under him previously, where he does give them a little bit more leeway, which is exactly what Jadon Sancho is also saying, that Anthony looks like a fidget spinner still on that pitch and he's getting game time more than me, you know? And there's definitely players that are in that squad which you can't tell me they are sort of performing in day out on the training pitch, because that's not what's coming out on the pitch when they're playing. So I hear Jadon Sancho's point of view, and to be honest, I think we can also agree that that kid does have quality in him, and perhaps a move away from United is the best thing for him to try and get away from that sort of toxic. There's a lot of Spurs fans that are calling for Sancho, like a lot. So
do you take
Chelsea wanted him as well. Chelsea wants everyone, right?
Chelsea wants everyone. So let's leave. I think I would take him just because.
Cyrus, you pretty much would take anybody right now.
Yeah. You will.
I don't know about anybody. I mean, that's Saka guy. I'm not
guys,
sold.
Sancho,
I would take
Martial,
the thing is Sancho.
Stay away
take
from
Sancho.
Saka. It's fine. It's bad. It's really bad.
bundle deal.
We'd rather have that Emile Smith Rowe. He seems a top-notch player.
But the thing is, like, you look at that United side, and it's still. All of us were kind of saying United are going to finish top 4 this season, probably, or somewhere up the table. There is not a chance, judging by the way these past 4 games have gone, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. They could turn it around, but that place looks terrible.
Can I please say something? As a non-United fan, I think United's issues, the Sancho thing's not going to derail them. The kid's not been playing anyway. So I don't necessarily think that that's major when it comes to on-pitch stuff. And I also feel as if Højlund is going to absolutely unlock something in this team, because right now they've been playing with Martial, and Martial has been the ghost of Martial for the last few seasons. You don't often see players go out on loan to a separate country, come back and are immediate successes in their team. It just doesn't happen. So
Cyrus,
I think that
Martial was hardly playing though. He was injured for most of the season.
exactly.
United were playing who up front?
Wait, did Martial go on loan?
Yes, to Sevilla.
Oh my word! He did.
Yes, last year.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't even know that.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I didn't even
That's the
miss
thing.
him.
And so you also had like Verghorst, who played last season, and so everybody was like, "Well," and Verghorst played a heck of a lot of games. Now,
And he played
maybe Højlund is going to be the new Verghorst, but he does seem to have a goal or two in him more than Vogt did, and I think that will be the critical thing. So
he's got 3 goals. Then,
Yeah,
sorry.
he's got
Is
half a goal.
That's going
To
to
be
be more.
fair, if Højlund scores 3 goals this season, that's like 33% of his all-time goals.
Yes.
And
So
that's
you
it.
know, that's
So-
massive, guys.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and to go from that point to almost lead it into AB, look at the United fan base and tell me that right now you're currently going through the absolute doldrums. Anthony has looked horrid from the time you've signed him, and now there's
And his
off the pitch
off-field
issues.
antics are just a problem.
Exactly, all of that. But then Højlund starts to weigh in with goals, and he starts to become the mini Erling Haaland. No one's going to say anything, because suddenly, yeah, I know, Kent, I know, but I saw that. Kent's-
Everyone has the exact same reaction when they compare the two. Everyone's like,
Yeah. They're just from the same neighborhood. Same neighborhood. But the point being that if Haaland starts scoring goals like Rashford did last season, suddenly everything changes at United. Do you think the fan base then looks at Erik ten Hag and says this guy's out of his depth, or do they say, oh, he just needs he needs time?
I see a regression in United's style of play since last season. You expecting a coach that has been backed, whether Wahid says it's backed or not, whatever. He's been given more money than 90% of the league, and you expect to see some sort of style of play improving. You expect to see players like understanding what Ten Hag wants from them. In the first 4 games from United, they've been lucky to get 2 wins, and they could have snuck a draw or a win against Arsenal, but no one is convinced by their style of play, by the relationship Ten Hag has with their players. It looks like it's starting to go backwards. It's still very early to call, but it's not looking promising. I don't know if one player like Højlund can just turn that all around. He could, but there's so many other problems in that team. I don't think that sorts out.
You don't believe that this international break will be the best international break of ETH's life, similar to what Mikel had to turn the ship around?
Guys, Højlund could get injured playing for Denmark.
Exactly.
And then
So okay.
So could
all you need is
Amrabat.
Bruno to get injured, and then United are just absolutely gone.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this to close it out, right? United's next fixtures. I'm going to name the next 5.
Brighton next.
It's Brighton.
Burnley.
But wait,
No. Wait.
Wait.
Before you
Wait,
even
you
go
must
to the
tell us
Premier League,
Brighton. Brighton.
they've got
at the
Bayern
Anfield.
Munich away. Harry
Yeah.
Kane. Then they have Burnley. Then they have Crystal Palace in the EFL Cup and Crystal Palace again in the Premier League, right?
Yo, that EFL Cup must be nice.
Tell me how many how many wins are coming out of there?
Out of the next 4.
So yeah, I don't even know if you'll win the Carabao Cup, but
we have to, guys. Defending champs. We have to.
The tough competition this year.
And they were playing League 1 opposition, so they should be winning.
But if we took Brighton, Bayern Munich, Burnley, and Crystal Palace,
How
But
many home
what-
games? How many home
Best
games?
case scenarios.
Because I think
home
United will
games.
win.
Brighton's at home, Bayern Munich's away, Burnley's at away, but you know what I
Burnley.
mean.
Yeah.
Manchester United, and then Crystal Palace is home.
Okay, so 2. I say 2 wins, 2 losses. We'll lose to Burnley. We'll lose to Bayern. Because remember, Burnley guys beat us at Old Trafford like 3 days ago.
Oh, in a closed doors friendly.
Doesn't matter. Johnny Evans played. He's gonna play again.
I'm going 2-2.
I've spoken.
I
When
go.
you-
I think United's best result against Brighton is a draw. Brighton looked really good against Newcastle.
Even with Ansu Fati.
Well, they've got more enforcements. Ansu didn't even come on.
Yeah.
They beat Newcastle 3-0 without Ansu. Imagine if he starts.
I honestly think they could lose every single one of those games. I honestly think.
But
Am-
Burnley
am
look
I-
terrible. Burnley are not.
Yeah, Burnley are
Burnley
not
are
good.
Burnley are-
Burnley on the weekend play, like Vincent Company's got them trying to play this like possession football, which is very weird for a Burnley team, and it's not really clicking. So
That's what they played last season in the championship. The difference
but
is the opposition.
agreed. He's tried to bring
Yeah.
this into the Premier League, and it's not working.
Burnley's manager is a better defender than anyone Man United have.
Look, I can't be the person on this podcast thinking that Man United will probably get more results out of this run of fixtures than most people do. Because I do think that they'll lose in Munich, but I think it will be one of those losses that gets the fans thinking, well, we weren't that bad. I mean, if they'd lost to Arsenal 2-1 and perhaps the goals weren't so late, it would have been like, okay, we expected to lose, but it wasn't that bad. But I do think, though, Brighton are a weird team this season. That, yes, they look fantastic against Newcastle, but then they're just blowing hot and cold. And I'm just not sure at a game at Old Trafford is really going to be what Brighton pick themselves up for, because they will leave themselves exposed at times.
Yeah.
And when you have Rashford actually playing off the left and looking like somewhat of a threat, and they have an actual striker in Højlund in the middle with a potential Amrabat somewhere running around, then this could be a slightly different United. And so I'm not one to write them off. Maybe it's the scars of having faced these B words for so many years that I just keep thinking.
You could say
West Ham,
it.
Don't know.
West Ham beat Brighton 3-1 with like 27% possession because they just played them on the break.
That's
So
West
if
Ham.
United play the exact same way they did against Arsenal, which is very similar to what West Ham.
But that's
they
the
could get a
United
result.
that's the United style. United style isn't swashbuckling anymore. They ditched that quite a bit, a while ago. I think the thing with United now is that they're trying to get the most out of the players that they have, and when you look at the guys who are on the pitch, I mean, they have some guys who could actually win some games. And as much as Anthony is a bit of a laughing stock, and I've been leading that charge, he does have a bit of a goal in him now and again. And I think that a team like Brighton might be the team he actually scores against.
Yeah, and in essence, I think for me, that's essentially what I think Manchester United will end up. It's just they're going to be playing off the counter the whole time. I don't know how AB feels about that, because I think
Our last manager did that really well, and then we fired him. So I don't know.
Oh, firings, they hurt.
outside of a dressing room revolt, Manchester United could do something because Brighton are very open at the back. But anyway, Harry Kane comes back, and Dean's going to be so happy to watch Harry Kane put it again against
biggest United
Manchester
supporter
United.
that
You guys tend to forget what Bayern Munich looked like in the Champions League last season.
Yes.
They weren't that rampant team who were tearing people apart, and they haven't been that team in the Bundesliga this season. Don't be surprised if it's a lot closer of a game than people make it out to be.
And yeah, you guys are telling me, no, sell Kane to Bayern because he can win the Champions League with them. And now you're saying
he can win a
they
trophy.
can't win the
He can
Champions
win a
He
trophy.
can win. He already
League.
won
They
a
won
trophy.
without Kane.
Yeah.
Like the closest
Yeah,
time
and
they've
that's
ever
it.
come was last
It's
season.
for
They still
him.
won it.
They're just like, look, we need a goal scorer, maybe the Champions League. But at the very least, Kane can win a league title. He hasn't done that yet, right?
Yes, he hasn't.
They would have won it anyway when he was there or not.
That's not the question.
Doesn't
and
matter.
That's also not
It's
why
a
he went there.
trophy. And happy
Where's the Audi
141st
Cup?
birthday.
I don't
Dean.
think Jack Grealish cared either.
Yes.
Like when he moved, that man just wanted a party.
And he's got
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Okay. It's International Week. We won't have a podcast next week, but we'll be back in the week after that. Once the domestic matches come back in, and we'll probably be talking about North London Derby because we'll be right in that little ambit of it all. But outside of that, guys, thanks, man.
Where is that one? Is that at you guys?
Yeah, it's them. Right?
Ah, yes, it's at the Emirates. I love that. I love that.
The day before my birthday as well. I'm like, oh, damn.
That'll mean your
I've
birthday is
I've
gonna
been
be
there,
fantastic.
you little shit.
That
I've been
means
there.
your birthday is gonna be great
Terrible.
because it can't be worse
Oh.
than the day of the actual affair.
Yeah,
Yes.
fair.
I used to always play Manchester United in and around my birthday, and it was horrible because they would beat us badly. And there was one Van Persie year that just didn't work out well. But anyway, so yeah.
Now we
Sorry,
laugh.
AB.
We laugh when we play United.
Yes, I know, but they had us, hey? Hey,
No,
Gabriel.
I was traumatized.
What a defensive play.
I
What
was
a defensive
traumatized as a kid. My high school, my grade 8 and 9 was hell, dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
We've all
no,
been there, and that's why the tears are few right now.
Yeah,
like every time there's some crisis, you can be like, oh yes, Manchester United going through it all. Going
Yeah.
through it
Yeah.
all.
I don't think there'll
Yeah.
ever be sympathy at any point.
No,
Yeah,
no.
no, AB, we don't cry with you this time. We're just laughing at the gargantuan club. And I think yesterday was like the worst day on the stock exchange for Manchester United ever.
600 million
Shares like
pound
$20
loss.
or something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must sell
I'm
the
pretty sure
club now.
Telcom is like more expensive than that.
And we'll end it at
That's-
that. Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy the international break. Hopefully, your players don't get injured. And yeah, we'll be back on the other side of the international break, talking all things Premier League. Have a great time. Goodbye and le sale kakahiso.